Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 168 of the world's longest tenured Denver Nuggets spin-off podcast. Welcome to the DNVR Nuggets' Serbian Corner. My name is Miroslav, and before we begin, please take a moment to like the video on YouTube. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the DNVR Sports YouTube channel and DNVR Nuggets podcast channel. The audio version is ideal for your commute or to make your office or home office time more bearable. If you want to support the show more directly, you can become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/MiroslavCUK, just like my Seco tier supporters Peter Plummer, Daniel Lynch, and Brian Johnson. Patreon supporters can enjoy the ad-free audio version of this show. They can also submit ideas for guests and topics, and appear on the show during the summer. Week 6 is in the books. The Nuggets started it by playing in Memphis versus the lousy Grizzlies. After the first quarter, in which both teams shot horrifically from the field, the second period started with a Cam Johnson-led bench unit of Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway Jr., Zeke Nagy, and Jonas Valanciunas, who played next to him, and that five played very well and won their minutes by 8 points. I have no other notes on this game, since it was a pretty sloppy one, and the Nuggets won it mostly because of red-hot outside shooting. Peyton Watson made 5 of 12 threes, and interestingly enough, he made all 5 in a row. Jamal converted 6 of 9 outside shots. Joker and Cam Johnson went 3 of 4, and even Zeke Nagy made 2 of 3. Yeah, Zeke tripled his total threes made in the season that night. Jamal finished with 29 and 8, Peyton with 27 and 5, Cam had 18 and 6, and Joker had 17, 10, and 16. Yes, that would be 16 assists. The record was 13 and 4. Next, the Spurs came to town for the Emirates NBA Cup game. God, that rolls right off the tongue. Well, who cares about the cup anyway? No Wemby, no problem for the Spurs. The Nuggets scored 136 and lost again at home. After the game, David Adelman said that the Nuggets played serious defense only in the second quarter. But on rewatch, even though the home team held the guests to 18 points in that period, there was a lot of shooting luck involved too. Jamal had an efficient 37 points. Cam Johnson chipped in with 28 on outstanding shooting, but had a couple of misses and turnovers in the clutch. Nikola had a 21-point somewhere double, but shot only 10 times from the field. And the Nuggets had 15-point lead at the big break. They weren't obviously ready for the situation in which the other team made 13 threes in the second half because they expected to sleepwalk to another victory. Devin Vassell had different plans, so the Nuggets recorded a third straight home loss. All 3 against inferior opposition. Frustrating. Finally, last night, on the second night of the back-to-back, the 2023 NBA champions traveled to Arizona to play Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns. Now, here's a fun fact. Arizona is pronounced Arizona in Germany. Don't ask me why I know that. Nuggets were in need of get-right game, and who better to play it against than Matt Ishbia-owned team. It was another hot shooting night from the good guys. Tim Hardaway Jr. had 7 threes, Jamal added 5, Spencer Jones 4, Cam Johnson 3. Joker somehow was the leading scorer with 26 points on 7 of 7 shooting. Brown was the point Bruce in this game with 10 assists, and Cam Johnson plus the bench played excellently in the second stint without Zeke Nagy. Spencer Jones had a great game of his young NBA career with 16 points and 9 rebounds. The Nuggets are winning all the games away and losing home games. They are a true southpaw of the NBA right now. Okay, my guests for today are my limo driver and my bowling coach, who says nepotism doesn't work. From the Denver Stiffs and the Dig podcast, it's Nick Hertzog, and from Four Corners podcast, it's Ray Hackshaw. I always wanted to do
What's
that.
going on,
Ray.
guys?
Yo.
Ray, you have such a boxing name. Like it's just a perfect. It could be a professional wrestler name as well.
You know, it's funny. Something happens every time I join a bowling league where, intentionally or unintentionally, they shorten my last name to Hacksaw in the little ledger there. It's a fun bit.
just like Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
I was gonna say that'd be a good wrestling name.
Yeah. Amazing name. What up, Nick?
What's up? How are you guys?
Pretty good. Well, better than 24 hours ago, for sure.
Right.
24 hours ago, I was fuming after that Spurs game, but we'll get to that. Let's talk about last night's game, though. So the Nuggets were red hot shooting again, just like in Memphis, and for some reason they won something like 9 consecutive road games, I think, at this moment, and they've lost 3 consecutive home games, which is pretty weird for a team that has the best possible home advantage in altitude. Nick, what say you? What's going on here?
I think they've actually won 10 straight on road games after a back-to-back or
something like that. Yeah,
something like that.
Exactly.
Which that should be the hardest game to win, right? Like I would think a road game on a back-to-back just seems like you've got some things stacked against you, from the schedulers that should indicate those are harder to win. So what do we do with that data point? The Nuggets seem to have no problem with those games, but they can't beat a Wembley Spurs team at home after 3 days of rest. And all I can ever come up with when we talk about this stuff is that the team is just not defensively minded. And like they sort of think in terms of offense first, and the defense sort of follows their offense. I think Malone used to try to always say that their offense followed their defense. I think that was him gaslighting them, to be honest. Or like it was some sort of like psychological manipulation to try to get them to think that way, even though because the team just like naturally doesn't think that way. And so to me, what happens is they just, in order for them to play the kind of defense they need to play to be a consistently great team, they have to have some level of pressure or feel some level of threat. And when they don't, they just tend to like fall back on and rely on their scoring because that's their strength. And they're able to also get by with that enough that it's sort of understandable. But it's a bad habit that they've had for years now.
This is a really interesting theory, because for years I've been calling Jamal Murray an adrenaline junkie. Mm-hmm. He needs the lights to be the brightest possible for him to play well. And now it seems like the whole team wants some adversity in order to be able to show us what they are. Ray, do you think the Nuggets are just a great team that doesn't care to play good basketball every night?
I think they want to play good basketball. I just don't think they have the without Christian Brown, without Aaron Gordon, I don't know if they have the bodies. I mean, it says something that Spencer Jones has been so much of a mainstay in the rotation that you need to go that deep to find somebody who's going to at least put in the effort to play defense, put in the approach the game with that mentality that you're talking about, defense first.
So I'm trying to wrap my head around this because for some reason the Nuggets are just red hot from the outside. They actually shot pretty well against the Spurs as well. They just couldn't stop the Spurs at all, especially in that second half of that game. And we are seeing some real progress from the Nuggets on the offensive side, even with Joker taking only 7 shots in a game like last night. It didn't matter because he had huge contributions from Jamal, from Tim Hardaway Jr., from Cam Johnson. All of those guys played great on offense and weren't relying on Joker, putting 40 for them to win a game. And yet, when they go back home, it's just they're waiting for the other team to surrender. And I don't think they realize they don't have the same kind of advantage at altitude as the prior generations had. Because as I always mentioned, they never practice at altitude. Like they spend, more time on altitude than the other team because they have to play 41 games at home. But at the same time, this is a team that plays the best at sea level. Nick, am I crazy for saying that?
Yeah, I mean the altitude. I don't know. It could be a factor. It could be that it's just harder to play a full game of defense at altitude for everybody, even including the people that live here. I mean, these are professional athletes, but like they're still human beings, and their body still requires a certain amount of oxygen to process, and to maintain a certain like energy level. Like it's possible you can get fatigued at altitude, even if you don't feel like out of breath or something, right? Like there is just like an element to living here and engaging in athletic activity here that's a little different. And I think we've seen this in other sports as well. So yeah, I can't like totally negate that as a possibility for just that when they play at home, it's probably not a intentional thing. It could just be a sort of subconscious kind of preservation of energy and because if you already think too that we have a little bit of an energy advantage because of the altitude. So we're like already pre-adjusted to it. The other team won't be. Therefore, we can like let off the gas a little bit to start games, knowing that we're going to have the energy advantage to close out games. Like this could just be kind of a psychological sort of subconscious kind of tendency that they've developed over a few years. And it wouldn't even be entirely wrong because there are a lot of home games that they win where they are nip and tuck. They aren't necessarily playing great defense, and then they just blow the doors off teams in the fourth quarter. So it's even understandable why they might develop that kind of mindset.
The Denver Nuggets are a team that has been a pretty efficient three-point shooting team in recent seasons, even though their volume was always very, very low. And it still is, honestly. It's not like the highest possible volume there. With the addition of Tim Hardaway Jr., though, they are right now at 39.2% from the three-point line, which ranks third in the entire league. And let me see if I can get the attempts. Yeah, their attempts are down low at the 23rd. But Ray,
Better than
do
30th.
you? Yeah, it's way better than 30th. Well, that's Houston Rockets because they don't shoot threes at all. They don't need to because they grab every offensive rebound. Yeah. So Ray, do you think it's just Tim Hardaway, or are there other things involved that we are now looking at the Nuggets as a real three-point threat team?
I think some of it's Tim, and in the general sense of even going into the season, we felt that the team was so much deeper, and so much more of that depth is in older players and more savvy players. And I think another surprise that we haven't mentioned is Peyton Watson, who I think is way outperforming expectations as a floor spacer, especially in the absence of Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown, who both shot a really solid percentage last year from deep.
What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, Jokic is still shooting a high percentage from three. If you take out that first game where he was 2 for 13, he's some absurd number from three. Murray's been great and been shooting very well. And they're getting. I mean, Spencer Jones had 4 threes last night on 6 attempts. Not that you want to rely on that to fuel your offense very often, but it does seem like yeah, I mean, one thing I think they could look at is just trying to up the volume, because I think this is a good shooting team. I think they have enough guys that are capable of shooting around 40%, that it probably just makes sense, like as a numbers game, to be upping the volume of threes that they're taking. But I'm not really, honestly, concerned about the offense all that much. They just don't seem to have a problem scoring in any way they need to. Like, I just don't.
Can I
don't
add
think
something
that's
else?
Really gonna be the issue.
Part of it is, I think the way teams are defending Denver right now, and the book on them is that they're putting as much they can resource-wise towards Jokic and towards Jamal, and there's just so many like just wide open threes. Guys are getting left, and I think that's the choice. That's just like the poison teams are choosing, and most of the time it doesn't work. But the times that it does work, it feels really bad. I think that's been the sense of the season, is that in there, I think 5 losses now, it's when you're like, oh, you've got a Peyton 3 and a Spencer 3 and a Zeke 3 and a Tim 3, and they all miss. And you're like, oh, well, damn, what are we doing here? Because it also kind of deflates them. I think kind of coming back to the defense, it kind of lowers their energy levels as a whole. And that seems to translate to the defensive end.
I have to say one thing about the Houston Rockets we just mentioned a minute ago. For some reason, they don't annoy me at all. Like the Thunder annoys me a lot. And Houston just plays this really interesting style of basketball, proving that you don't have to shoot 53s per game in order to have great offense. And I'm really excited about just being proven right that you don't have to play the math game in order to be able to win in today's basketball. It's just you need to figure out what's the most efficient thing your team can do.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I just to add, I think that the important thing is just that the Nuggets are able to make teams pay when they're overloading on Jokic and in the paint. And as long as they can do that and make them consistently pay, then yeah, I don't think you do need to play the numbers game necessarily. I don't think they should go into a game thinking like we have to get like 53s up in this game. I don't think that's really the mindset. But like the way, I mean, and this is all going to flow downstream from how Jokic plays, which is he's just going to make the right read. So if he's getting double and triple teamed every time he touches the ball, he's just going to keep passing it. He doesn't care. Like he's not going to try to force stuff. And I think that's the right call. And they just have to be able to make sure that they consistently burn teams that are overloading on him.
At the same time, Jamal is now on pace to have the most 3 points attempted per 36 minutes in his career this season, which is a welcome change in his approach. And even though some of those threes might look, a bit too eager to be shot, I welcome it. And I like most Nuggets fans believe Jamal is just a great volume shooter, and I just get frustrated every time I see him having an open 3-point shot and just settling for a contested 2 because he's not feeling it. That's something I would love for him to cut out of his shooting diet and be more aggressive in that way. Okay, let's take our first break, and after that we are going to talk about the defense because it's an elephant that needs to get out of the closet. Don't go anywhere. I have no idea if elephant in the closet is a phrase or not. Maybe something I just thought of in a moment.
Huge closets in Serbia?
Yeah, we do actually, but not for elephants because we don't have elephants, outside of zoos. Well, not yet. Maybe with global warming, we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen there. Okay, so the Nuggets are in trouble on defense with Aaron Gordon sidelined for a significant time. They started great on that side of the ball. Were a top 5 defense up until Aaron had to leave the rotation. And in fact, even including the games Aaron played in, these are the defensive rating of some notable Nuggets with and without Aaron next to them. So Jamal with Aaron was at 106 defensive rating. Now he's at 127.6. Joker 108.5. He's now at 124.1. Peyton, difference of 15 points. Cam, 13 points. Bruce, 17 points. Tim Hardaway, 20 points. Jonas, this is a small sample. He didn't play a lot of minutes next to Aaron Gordon, so maybe that one isn't as interesting. So Ray, what the hell are the Nuggets supposed to do now without Aaron on defense? Is there a remedy for what's aching them right now?
I don't know if there is, if I'm being honest. Defense is so cumulative, nowhere is basketball more of a team sport than on the defensive end. And as much as I love Peyton's defense, and I think that guys like Zeke and Spencer put in a lot of effort, even if they're not always doing exactly the right thing, you need more. It takes more than that. 2-3 guys. You need when the Nuggets had Christian and Aaron, he's got like 5 or 6 guys, and you've got a continuous rotation, no matter who's on the court, of a couple guys at least who are going to be connected on defense and are going to kind of cover up when Jamal, who is also putting more effort, at least in the beginning of the season on the defensive end, he's got someone behind him who's going to take advantage of that fact. And I'm not sure there's a solution. We talk a little bit. I mean, there were some comments about Adelman's coaching defensive rotations. And as much as I find them frustrating sometimes, I also think in a way it's an attempt to try to overcome what they lack from a physical tools perspective on that end.
Yeah, I mean, they're not a team of great individual defensive players, but they can play really good team defense when they're cohesive. And I think, just to echo what Ray said, like, I think AG and CB being out is not so much about how, they have no way of replacing their individual talent. It's like, I think you could argue that Peyton is probably as good of a defensive player, maybe slightly better than Aaron Gordon. I don't know. That's a hot take. CB is a really great defensive player. I guess it depends on who we're comparing, but anyway, Spencer Jones and Peyton Watson are good defensive players. Is what the long and the short of my point. And so putting them in, you're not necessarily like taking a big step back defensively. What you are doing is you're interrupting the continuity that the team has on defense, and it just takes time to develop rotations and playing on a string in today's NBA, where you can't really just easily plug guys in and out and replicate that, at least when you're Denver and you don't have a team filled with great defensive players. I mean, I think OKC has the luxury. This is one of the things that makes them such a great regular season team, is they can just kind of plug and play like different people in, and then they can also run with who has the hot hand offensively that night. And if somebody doesn't, they can just plug another defensive guy in and see if he's got his shot, going. But that's because they have a team of great defensive athletes. The Nuggets have to rely a lot more on strategy and cohesion and timing and people knowing where they need to be, and communication and all these other things that just make any kind of disruption to their defensive scheme, I think, really noticeable.
By the way, because I don't want people to think that we are talking about a horrible Nuggets team. They're still 14-5,
No.
and like their net rating is like +8 or something, which is a really, really good team. It's just the drop-off in defense had to be compensated with insane offense for them to stay on pace for like 58 games, 58 wins or something like that. And I just don't know if that's sustainable, because they've been running pretty hot recently, and that helped them, overcome some teams on the road. One thought I had, maybe they should, and I saw this actually idea from our guy Jeff Morton. He tweeted out, maybe the Nuggets just need to go small, especially with the second unit, because it's really difficult to see how these guys can defend. As we mentioned, Zeke Naji is a fine individual defensive player, but the Nuggets defense with Zeke on the court is just hilarious. I don't know if I can find a better word than that. Ray?
It would be nice. I do think there's some merit to the idea that if they could go to a small ball lineup and have it be effective on both ends of the court, I think is another issue, is when you go to Zeke at, I think some part of the hilarity is with Zeke on the court, there are so many times when if you try to play through Zeke in any way offensively, there's a lot of turnovers. We saw a lot of turnovers last night. There's a lot of unproductive offensive possessions that lead to very negative defensive possessions as well. And so one of the things I think would be really interesting is if they could bring in someone who I like Deron Holmes in this way, where if Zeke had someone with him in the front court to kind of relieve him of those duties, somebody who could be the guy you run pick and rolls with, the guy you post up, and let Zeke kind of stay out of the way. And on the other court, I think Duran needs a lot of help as well on defense and with the physicality of the game. And it would be nice if Zeke could then kind of step forward and chip in that way.
What about a huge lineup?
That'd be cool
What
too.
about Jonas, Holmes, Najee, Cam? I mean, that's a long lineup.
I like it.
Bruce at point, but I don't know. Yeah, it would depend on the matchup, I think.
And then how do you go about playing defense? Like right now, I think they run a lot of. I like a 3-2 more than a 2-3 in that way. If maybe they can start to do a little bit more trapping in the corner, maybe ask less of the two bottom guys. If you're going to play do bigs, of the two bottom guys from a movement perspective, I think that might be a little bit more effective. But it would take a lot of work and a lot of growing pains.
Guys, you both mentioned Deron Holmes. He's at the Grand Rapids, and I have a new theory regarding Deron, and that's like, I think the Nuggets are just waiting for him to show some real stats in the G League before giving him a real chance in the NBA, because his numbers in G League are pretty pedestrian. Like, he averages like 18 points and six rebounds on 28% from the 3-point line. Those are not good numbers. Like maybe they expect him to dominate the G League and then come home and get a chance playing with the Nuggets. It's a strange situation, I have to say.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't mean, but if sorry to interrupt, but I don't think if you put Zeke in the G League that he's going to be dominating either. So I don't know, like, if that's really, and we've seen enough of Zeke at this point, in my opinion. I think this experiment has run its course, but.
That reminds me of when Manimal returned to G League a couple of years ago to try to reestablish himself, and it never happened. I don't know. It's just, yeah, I agree. Everybody thinks that he would probably be better than Zeke at this point, but at the same time, there must be something about what David Edelman wants Deron to do before he gives him a real opportunity.
Yeah,
with the team, and for now, I'm willing to trust his view of that. But yeah, at some point, something is gotta give. And while we're at it, I read a really good article made by our fellow Nuggets fan, NBA Chicken. He made a great piece about what the Nuggets are gonna do about Spencer Jones, because at this moment Spencer Jones is irreplaceable in the rotation. While Aaron is out and Christian is out, they just need another good defensive body out there. And NBA Chicken talked about what would be the ways for the Nuggets to keep Spencer Jones on the team, because he already played like 18 games with the main squad for the Nuggets, and he can only play 50 as a two-way guy. So he'll run through those 50 games pretty quickly, and they will need to make some sort of decision on him, whether to just convert him to the 15 regular roster spot, or maybe to waive somebody and then, or trade away somebody to create another roster spot for him to be there, so they could theoretically sign somebody on the buyout market. What are your thoughts about how the Nuggets should keep, or whether they should keep, Spencer Jones to the end of the season and playoffs? Ray?
I think I'm not too worried about it, in the sense that there's a couple of fine options, whether it's bringing him in and putting them on that 15th roster spot, or moving off of someone like a Hunter Tyson, who I just don't think is giving. When you want to be in the NBA, you got to have at least one high level skill. I think for Spencer, it's defense. For Tim, he can shoot threes. And even if he's not doing a lot else, he's still shooting those threes, and he's still shooting 40%. So I think the math is not too complicated. as long as the Cronkies are willing to pay, which they should be, right?
I would think so. I mean, this is one nice thing about having that extra roster spot, I guess, is they can convert him if they're comfortable with Bruce running the point, which after last night, like that might
I'm
be
skeptical.
warranted. I haven't totally bought into this either yet, but it's not they also have Pickett as an option, which again, I don't know. He's racking up a lot of DMPs at this point, probably for a reason. So maybe that's not a real option. But again, if that's the case, then yeah, maybe you have some pieces you can move here to free up a spot for Jones, and then maybe try to address the backup point guard situation still. So I don't think they're looking at a bad spot here. And if they're willing to pay a little bit, I mean, is it a situation where if they convert him, they would are they at like $1 below the luxury tax line right now or something? I know it's pretty close.
It's very tight.
Okay.
That's what I know.
Yeah.
Depending on where you look at, the Nuggets are either slightly above the tax line or slightly below the tax line, and I'm not honestly sure which sources I should trust at this moment. At Spotrac, the source I use.
Knowing the Cronkies, we should probably assume they're slightly below.
Well, their plan is probably to be slightly below when it counts, at the end of the season. So we will see where that will go. But man, as I mentioned several times before, I feel this season is a big hurrah for the Nuggets, and they shouldn't be penny pinching this season, because I'm pretty sure they're going to be penny pinching a lot next season. When it comes to whether they will re-sign Peyton Watson and stuff like that. So we'll have to see about that. Okay, let's take another break. And after that, we are going to talk a bit about some nice new things happening with the bench unit. Don't go anywhere. Okay, we are back. So for years and years and years and years and years, we've been watching Jamal Murray play with 4 bench guys, and the Nuggets were usually getting destroyed in those years. Now, granted, in several last seasons, those 4 guys playing next to Jamal weren't top quality bench guys as they were, in years prior. But nevertheless, the Nuggets tried a 5-man bench lineup at the beginning of the season, saw that doesn't work, so they reverted back to the Jamal-led bench. But in the last 2 or 3 games, we've seen Cam Johnson lead the bench unit, and it looks slightly better with each passing game. It is a lifesaver because A, Jamal-led bench, as I mentioned, never worked, and B, it also limits Jamal's minutes slightly and allows Jamal to play with Joker more. Are we finally seeing why the MPJ for Cam Johnson trade was genius, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, even when Cam wasn't shooting particularly well, I think I at no point in the season have I ever felt like the Nuggets maybe lost that trade or shouldn't have made it, or I don't think I've had any doubts about that, because it freed up this bench depth that we've acquired this year, which has been key. And obviously with 2 of our starters being out now, we're seeing how vital that depth was. But yeah, also, yeah, you're right. Like Cam is he's just a more well-rounded overall basketball player who knows how to keep the offense moving, who knows how to fit into the game. I think honestly, like his first number of games where he was starting to take some heat among Nuggets fans, he really wasn't playing like poorly. He just wasn't really hitting his shots, and now he is. And now that he's making a lot of these open threes that he's getting good looks, I think now we're starting to pick up on some of the other things that he's doing. Maybe he's also just getting more confident in the flow of the offense and has a better sense of where he should be and how to play with these guys. Because he does seem like a player that's kind of a little more in his head. He's not really maybe this is just me projecting or my perception of him as a player, but seems like somebody who kind of he's like sort of more mentally trying to figure out the game and where he needs to be and what the right play is, a little more than MPJ, who was just, I feel like a guy who just kind of was like, oh, I have ball, I shoot now or something. And that probably does lend itself better to him being a valuable bench guy, because on any given night too, you're going to have these kind of funky bench rotations depending on injuries and just like the matchups and things like that. And so I do think Cam probably is a bit more of like a versatile kind of Swiss Army knife type player that can play with different kinds of lineups.
What do you think, Ray?
I think the big difference for me is that he is much more familiar with the idea of being empowered to be the leader of the unit. Like he has a lot more experience in that role. So when he gets to kind of be that stagger, it feels to me like he gets to go back to Brooklyn in a way where it's like, okay, now it's on me to like initiate and do a little bit more. And the team wants me to do that. And I know the team wants me to do that. And they support me doing that. And I get to do it and feel more confident about it. And I think it's a nice role for him because I think it translates well.
So the second bench stint last night was Bruce, Tim Hardaway Jr., Cam Johnson, Spencer Jones, and Jonas Valanciunas. Do we feel that five has enough ball handling to survive a stint of 5, 6, or in last night's case, 9 minutes without Joker? What the hell was that? Joker entering the game at the 3-minute mark in the fourth quarter. That was really weird. What do you
we're
think,
trying
Ray?
to give him a hamstring injury. Let him get nice and cold and then bring him back in. Yeah.
It's weird. Like David Adelman obviously wanted Joker to play fewer minutes, so he played 31, but then Jamal played 37 again. So I don't see them being a really balanced unit at this point. And it goes back to the original point of whether the Nuggets have a reliable backup point guard or don't, because if Jamal still needs to play 37 minutes, even if he is not with the bench, then what are we doing? Like, are we really gonna stay with Bruce and Jamal and Pickett for the entirety of this season? What do you think, Ray?
The issue for me is that I love Bruce and I love what he contributes. I think he brings a lot of energy. He kind of raises that floor from a defense and rebounding perspective for the team. He's kind of anemic offensively for the most part. 6 points, 2 assists in 23 minutes a game is not what you're really looking for from your backup point guard. And there's two parts of it. There's the fact that I think compared to his last stint here, he's lost a little bit of a step, and that's hurting him at the rim pretty heavily, to the point where he really needs his 3-point shot to fall. He's at like 30% right now. And if it's not falling, I think that whole unit kind of gets bogged down because they don't really respect him enough. But if he is hitting, and in the moments where he's playing well, and he's hitting some shots, hitting some floaters, it all feels like it makes sense. If it were me, I'd like to see Pickett in that spot just to see, for maybe a couple weeks, just to see how that functions, to see if he can give them a little bit more structure, a little bit more consistent shooting, before they go to some type of outside the team alternative.
We did see a little flash of the old Bruce last night. The rebound and coast to coast drive in the fourth. Got me up out of my seat. I had little flashbacks of 2023. I mean, that was the kind of energy, right?
But that's the thing, is like he scores so rarely that when he does score, it's like it's a hype moment for the whole team.
It's really
and
impressive.
I love that. And I love Bruce. Like, we all love Bruce, and so I don't want him going anywhere. It's just it's not always happening.
Yeah, no, I agree. And do we think this is like has he permanently aged? Here, he doesn't see, like, what is he, 29? 30?
Yeah,
He's 29.
Okay.
he
So,
had
like,
an ACL injury though, and
Yeah.
that's tough. I feel like he walks and runs gingerly. Like I feel like he's in some pain, and you can see his legs; they're completely wrapped up, which is always uh, kind of a red flag to me.
Yeah.
Like I'm always scared when I see guys that have to be wrapped up completely to be able to play. So yeah, I believe Bruce is in a similar place I was like 15 years ago when I first lost my
nearly,
first step.
nearly identical. I would
Happens
say,
to all of us.
Practically identical situation, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
And you know, your brain remembers your prime and tries
Yeah.
to tell you to do something, and this is why Bruce gets blocked so much around the rim. It's pretty crazy. Adam Mares was actually recently on a show called Saturday Slam and Jam on the Athletic podcast channel, and those guys have a really interesting trivia game. And one of the trivia questions was which Nugget got blocked the most times this season, and even with only 23 minutes per game, it was Bruce.
Like in total?
In
Not
total,
like
yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, in
Happens a
total,
lot.
Yeah, that's
Um,
bad.
I think
Yeah.
he's only lost like 10% of
Yeah.
his like total athleticism. But
Yeah.
for a player, when you're not that he's small for humans, but when you're small relative to the
Yeah.
other NBA players, when you're a smaller guard, sometimes that 5-10% is all you need to like not be enough. You know, we've seen that a lot with a lot of guys. Not that he's as small, but Isaiah Thomas, similar thing, is like he had one injury and then he's almost out the league next year because he doesn't have the full use of his explosiveness and burst and all that.
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder if it's something that he'll work through. Is I kind of feel like Murray looks significantly different to me this year, and it's been a number of years since he had his ACL injury. I kind of think these guys rush back as soon as they're sort of physically able, but I feel like there's something else. I've never had an ACL injury, so I can't relate, but I feel like there might be a mental part of this, or even a physical part of just getting back to being 100% that takes a lot longer than just like fixing the structural damage.
I could see that with Duran too. Like I think some of it is even that he's just not physically ready to compete at a super high level right now. When he plays with the Nuggets, like he's hitting his shots and he's being sound, making good decisions, but he looks kind of thin. He looks kind of tender out there, a little Bambi-ish.
Any updated takes on Peyton Watson? He had a big scoring night in Memphis, but after that, he's been practically the fifth starter since. Any thoughts on his play recently?
I mean, I've been happy with him. I think he's been really good. Even last night, he wasn't scoring as much, but I thought he had really good activity. He was all over the glass, especially in the first half when the game seemed like it could have started slipping away. Well, I mean, early it was horrible, but I mean I thought that second quarter was really big, where Hardaway was sort of single-handedly keeping them in the game as the Suns were trying to kind of reestablish control when Jokic went out. And yeah, I thought Watson just had some really great energy through those periods, and in helping to bring them back from their horrible start too. I thought his defense and just overall kind of hustle and rebounding was pretty valuable. So yeah, for me, I don't know. I kind of feel like a lot of Watson's offense is sort of I don't know if I want to say that it's like a bonus, but I guess that is in some ways how I at least normally feel. They need it a little bit more now that AG and Brown are hurt. But I was comparing his stats to Dylan Brooks last night. I wrote the preview for Denver Stiffs for this game, and so I had like a head-to-head matchup, and in one of our columns we just say like who has the advantage in this head-to-head matchup. And actually looking at the numbers, I was like, in the last 5 games, Peyton's averages were about what Dylan Brooks's averages were. They were almost identical. And he's also, really effective defensive player. So, from my mind, like kind of going into that last game, I was almost like they're kind of washed. I think probably Brooks is probably a better player overall, a little more accomplished, but I don't know. That's kind of the level that Watson's been at for me.
He's fifth on the team in field goal percentage, and he's shooting 39% from three. So I'm pretty happy with it. And I think he's doing a great job of recognizing that when you're looking up and down the roster, lots of the players are good offensively, and where he's really needed is that defensive energy. Sometimes another ball handler, sometimes somebody to play the dunker spot. And if that means he scores 10 points a game, I mean, that seems to be okay with him. And I think that's great for the Denver Nuggets.
Last thing before we take our last break. What about Joker? Any concerns about 17 shots in the last 2 games from him?
It's the wrist. It's the wrist for me. I'm like, I don't know. What's up with this? Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, only 100% from the field last night.
Yeah, something
right. I'm concerned, but like it sounds like he's making it work. So
26 points on 7 shots, 110% true shooting.
I'm telling you, man, we are gonna all collectively quit basketball when he retires. Like,
it's gonna be tough to watch.
Yeah. I don't know how to go back after that.
I've been through dark times before. We'll the light will shine again, but it may be a while.
Okay, let's take our last break, and then we are going to do some rankings, so don't go anywhere. We are back, and just like last couple of weeks, we are going to rank the Nuggets 10 real guys. I'm giving you this task completely open-ended. I'm not telling you if you should rank them by impact, production, vibes, or meeting of the preseason expectations. Nothing. I'm really interested to see which path you are going to choose. After I get your rankings, I will make a ranking showing the average rank of all 10 real guys. And by the end of the season, similarly to Andy Bailey's player ranking, we should get the most objective ranking based on many Nuggets talking heads' thoughts. Lastly, we are only ranking the top 10, even with Christian and Aaron injured for a longer while, because I don't feel Julian, Pickett, Holmes, or anybody else at the end of the bench will have enough minutes or be impactful enough to really compete. And I also don't want to mention Hunter Tyson being number 17 every week. So, Nicholas, which Nugget is number 1 for you this season while I'm typing Jokic?
I'm thinking Spencer Jones is probably one is top, right?
Yes, 1 is top.
Okay.
Yeah. In the first show 2 weeks ago with Grace, we started at 9, and it was pretty confusing. So we are starting from the top, so we don't forget anybody.
Yeah,
so,
not only is Jokic number 1 on the Nuggets, he's number 1 in the NBA. He is number 1 in the world, and he is very quickly making the argument to be number 1 offensive GOAT of all time. So, I think he's pretty safely number 1.
So you are lower on Joker than Stan Van Gundy?
That's right.
Who said he might be the greatest player overall?
Yeah, that's a different conversation. I mean, I think if we want to get into it, we can. But to me, that's a really era dependent conversation, and so I have a really hard time saying any single player is the greatest of all time, independent of context. So,
okay,
he's definitely the greatest of his generation, though.
Ray, I'm guessing you have Joker number 1 as well.
Top 5 all time.
Top 5 all time. Okay, Nick, number 2.
Mm-hmm. Jamal Murray. It's been great. He's given me basically what I've wanted to see from him early in a season. The last few years, I think he looks different. Something is different. There's an energy level that's different. There's a seriousness, an aggressiveness that's different. Which we talked about a little bit earlier, and I do think he's got a pretty good chance of being an all-star this year.
Ray?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jamal at number 2, and I just want to say, as the, I guess I was one of the OG Murray haters. according to the community. So I love that he is making a concerted effort to be great. I think that's the big thing for me this year is when he really asserts himself as one of the best players on the court, making an effort to be one of the best players in the league, and he is well deserving of number 2.
Okay,
Don't
and
worry
Ray,
about your Murray. Don't worry about your Murray takes, Ray. I once upon a time on the Dig made the argument that Monty Morris should be starting over Murray, and Murray should be like 6th man because I liked him in that
Damn,
role
dog.
better. So
oh,
yeah,
and who was it?
that's probably my all-time worst take.
Who
All right,
was
can I
it?
give you a worse take?
Yeah,
I liked Moutier more than Jamal Murray.
yeah, that wasn't a crazy take at the time though. I think
At the time, okay, Jamal's rookie year, Moutier shot better from 3.
Yeah, did he really?
Well, Jamal missed like first 22 shots of
He
his
did.
rookie season, so yeah,
It did not endear me.
it wasn't too hard to below him at that point. By the way, you said you thought Monty Morris should start over Jamal. There was somebody who said that Bones Highlands should start over Jamal.
That's
Oh
the
yeah,
worst
that was Bones Highland. Yeah.
take.
Okay, Ray, Ray, who is your third pick?
For real guys on the Nuggets.
Yes,
This might be kind of crazy.
I like that it is getting already interesting.
Peyton Watson. I think it's Peyton Watson. I think he's the third most important player for the Nuggets to win a title. He has the kind of impact that wins championships that you need to win championships. The tools, the skills, the willingness to be flexible and give you a bunch of different things. And he's young enough that he can still do it at a high degree and on high volume.
This is the highest Peyton has been so far on this list, and I like it. Nick,
Yeah, I don't hate it, but I mean, Mr. Nugget is 3 for me. I think we're with him being out. Maybe we forget some of the start he got off to also this year, which was one of his better starts, and his improvement in his shooting the last 2 seasons is maybe one of the biggest like glow ups I've ever seen for a NBA like star level basketball player. I'm trying to think of like an equivalent of a player who had a bunch of other gifts and then later in his career became like a legitimately great shooter.
so Brook Lopez wasn't a shooter at all, and
Okay.
then suddenly started shooting 40% from the 3-point line. At the same time, Aaron was shooting; he just wasn't hitting. So it's a real progress in Aaron's field here.
Yeah.
Who is your fourth pick, Nick?
Fourth,
Or 4 seed?
are we okay? So I have a question about this.
You do whatever you want, man. I'm not giving you any inputs.
Is it
No rules.
Is it like
No
the
rules.
real guys in a vacuum, or is it like
No
most
rules,
important
man.
to the team?
I don't care, man. You
Okay.
do you.
If it's most important to the team, I'm gonna say Watson at 4, for all of the reasons that Ray just articulated. But my 5 might be a bit hot.
Okay, Ray, 4.
Aaron Gordon, for a lot of the same reasons. He's just a little bit older, so it's a little bit harder for him to do it for an entire season.
Okay, I'm gonna give you Ray now the 5th pick because I want Nick to feel a bit more about his hot take before he lays
Okay.
it on us.
Well, you probably could guess based on the name I chose.
No.
So it's-
I'm not guessing anything. I'm really passive in this game.
My 5th pick is Jonas Valanciunas.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually think having a backup center, a true 5 to go to, has been so. It does so much for the team, even more than shows up on the stats. It provides them a level of structure. Someone when Bruce Brown is running point guard, you have someone you can get the ball to who's going to be able to create for himself, for others, who you're going to be able to close out possessions defensively because you can get boards. You're going to be able to run similar offenses, so you have continuity. There's so many benefits. So Jonas for me is number 5.
Excellent. Nicholas. Number 5.
It's THJ for me. with the caveat that is, what are we at? Game 21 or something?
19.
19.
Yeah.
That's through 19 games. I'm not necessarily saying this is my projection for how it will be at the end of the season, but up to this point, I think THJ has been almost invaluable for that. I think they probably lose 2 or 3 more games this year without his contribution, and I feel like he is the type of player they have been lacking, maybe forever, in addition to Jonas, which is also something they've had a big lack in. I agree with that. But this guy that can come in off the bench and just shoot threes with zero conscience and hit them at a high level has been like a revelation to me watching it on this team this year. It's just something it was one of those things I didn't realize how badly I wanted it until I got it. And so I've been blown away by him.
Very well. Ray, what is your 6th pick?
I'm gonna go Christian Brown. I get he hasn't had the flashy season, but I do think he's still critical to the, if the Nuggets want to play good defense, especially in the playoffs, it's going to involve Christian Brown. So I got to give him his credit, and he generally does a great job on all of the matchups that make sense for him.
Okay, even though those matchups are not many.
It's like big perimeter players, basically.
I don't know what's happening to me, man, because I'm such a big Christian Brown believer. I'm a big fan of his, I'm kind of turning on him since the extension. Like
me,
I cannot help it.
It's the 3-point shooting in the playoffs that has me I'm like, you got to bring this home because it's going to be really important, and he's done a great job in the regular season of doing it. But if he is going to be a guy that teams can just leave, it's hard to keep him on the court when he isn't either an elite athlete or that kind of thing.
Yeah, this injury is a bummer. I think I'm really hoping this doesn't set that progression back in a way that lingers into the playoffs, but we'll see.
We'll see. Number 6, Nick.
Cam, for me. I agree with the importance of Christian, but I just think if we're talking about just what we've seen this year so far, he wasn't playing great before he got injured, and then he got injured, and now we just, so who knows? We'll see what we get from him when he comes back. I think Cam has been steadily improving. We all talked about giving him, 10, 15 games before we really started getting too critical of how he was playing. I think kind of right in line with that. I think basically over the last 10, he's gotten much better. He's hitting shots, and I think, like we talked about earlier, his role potentially with the bench is also could be really key. So,
okay, Nick, continue with number 7 then.
Okay, probably Christian there for me. Yeah.
Okay, no reason to elaborate that. Ray, number 7.
I'm gonna go with Cam as well, or not Cam at 6, but Cam is 7 for me. In the similar way that I think Christian has been so steady with his defensive floor. Cam is so steady with his offensive floor that I think it's just really nice. He's flexible. He's hitting threes now, which is great, and he is one of the most important Nuggets.
And continue with number 8, Ray.
This is where you start to get, you're getting to your 8th man, 9th man, 10th man. I'm going to go with Tim Hardaway Jr. for a lot of the same reasons, is that as much as it's nice to be a cerebral player, I think it's always undervalued, the impact, especially among the talking head community, because we all love like the big brainness of players, of somebody who's just going to step on the court and say, I can hit this 3. I know I can hit this 3. I'm shooting this 3. Fuck you.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
Write the report, Kale. Okay, Nick, number 8.
And now I'm feeling like this is probably too low, but this is where I'll slot Jonas in. But it's, for me, it's a couple of these guys are like almost interchangeable. We're talking like pretty slight differences between them and because they're kind of adding different things. So it's kind of
too bad I'm not letting you make a tie between two guys. You have to.
No, that's all good. But yeah, I totally agree with everything. And this isn't even in a slight on anything. I think he's been super valuable and great, and one of my favorite additions also to the team. So
Go to line, Nick.
Yeah, it's. I mean, okay. I'll probably put Spencer in here because he's been able to fill in as a starter and do an admirable job. Especially last night with what I saw, it has me really excited and encouraged. And I think, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Okay, Ray, what is your ninth guy?
Spencer Jones. You need defense.
Ooh-wee. This is interesting. You both left Bruce Brown for number 10.
How do you know I'm picking up 10?
Well, do you have another guy?
No.
I'm open to it because last week Jeremy didn't want to pick Spencer at 10.
Well, Jeremy also had
Pickett.
Deron Holmes. You probably have Deron Holmes 7th on this list. So
He didn't because I was shaming him into not picking Holmes 7th. He did pick
Bruce?
Pickett.
He's on. Bruce is on the. He's like. There's opportunity, I will say, for if Zeke can step up, if Jalen Pickett can step up, if anybody can step up. I think Bruce is. He's 10 right now, but there's definitely room for improvement there.
Yeah, I will tell you. Grace also 2 weeks ago had Bruce number 10, so you shouldn't feel like the first people to do that on this show, and we will see what the future weeks will bring to us, and at some point I'm gonna start showing the average ranks of all the players. Nick, when can we expect the next dig to come out?
should be this week. Yeah. But if you haven't checked it out already, yeah, check it out. It's been more of a bi-weekly show. It might move up to a weekly show, just depending on my schedule. But you've been gracious enough to become my co-host, and I forced you into that role, so I appreciate that.
I'm never gonna call myself a co-host because I don't do anything for it. I just show up and show my pretty face
That's all
and my
Jeremy
pretty
ever
voice.
did.
And yeah, exactly. This is why Jeremy was never your co-host. It's just a glorified role called co-host. So the easiest way for everybody to find the dig, just go to the denverstiffs.com and you will see the link for the show there, and you can also
Follow me on
find.
Twitter.
Yeah, follow Nick on Twitter at Nick Hertzog Inc.
Mm-hmm.
That's Hertzog with T, not like Werner Herzog.
Mm-hmm.
That phony
Probably
Herzog
bastardized
without a
American
T.
version, yeah.
Ray, when can we expect the next Four Corners?
We are recording this afternoon. So
Oh, nice.
if you're a real sicko and you want the unedited version, I will drop that later tonight. If you are a reasonable human being and you'd like the segments that we drop, they will be coming out throughout the week.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you, gentlemen, for wasting your hour with me today. And that is all I've prepared for you, my dear listener. And please, with cherry on top, please take the word prepared very loosely. Be well, be safe, be kind to everybody. Call your mom, and until next week, remember that my plan is to be Nuggets forever.